Hi, I'm Whitney.
And I'm Camden. Welcome to Let's Get Intimate Special Edition.
Yes. So we normally, for our patrons on Fridays, do a video show called Let's Get Intimate, where we talk about all kinds of stuff. But we thought because the probable cause affidavit was released today regarding Bryan Kohberger, the man who has been arrested and charged with the 4 University of Idaho murders, we thought we would go through the affidavit with you guys and see what all of the hard work that the Moscow Police Department has been putting in the last 2 months. And let me tell you, this thing is iron fucking clad.
Yeah, I have no idea what the defense is even going to be, because it's awesome work. I mean,
it's incredible. And the first time I read it, the very first thing I thought was, there is no way that this guy's parents can read this and still think that he didn't do it.
I know. Could you imagine what that would be like?
No.
I mean,
no.
Oh, they just have to be, everybody is sick. I'm sick, you're sick, they're sick.
Yes.
Everyone's sick.
I've been nauseous all day about it. And I just kept thinking about, he, appeared in court this morning, and there were 11 family members of the victims in the courthouse. And just, I cannot fathom what that had to have been like, to sit there and watch this man who's been charged with slaughtering your child walk in with his just blank fucking face.
And then grinning at his attorney. Ugh.
Yes.
Like, you're in trouble, sir. You're not allowed to smile.
Yeah, no more smiling ever, asshole. All right, so guys, a probable cause affidavit, for those of you who don't know, is essentially when the investigators put all of the evidence they have together in a report and give it to the judge saying, here's what we have. This proves that we have enough to arrest this person for this crime. So that's what was released today. And a probable cause affidavit is a public document. But the way that Idaho's laws are set up, the affidavit can't be released until the suspect has their initial appearance in court. So even though Kohberger was, yes, just in Idaho. Even though Kohberger was arrested last week, because he didn't get extradited until yesterday and land in Idaho until about 6:30 last night, which was Wednesday the 4th. He was in court this morning, and that allowed for the release of the documents. And it is a horror show treasure trove of information. So the police, we're just going to talk a little bit about what they found out about Bryan Kohberger originally, and then we're going to go through it. So in the affidavit, they talk about when they were gathering information on this guy. And it says, based on information provided, Kohberger is currently a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University, which is in Pullman, about 10 miles from Moscow. They're super close to each other. And pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for the Pullman Police Department, we learned that Kohberger's past education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. These records also showed that Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. He applied to the police department almost immediately before he allegedly, and I'm putting that in quotes because I think he did it, before he killed these kids.
The audacity of this guy blows my mind.
I know. So he wrote in his essay that he had to write for his job application that he had an interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in public safety operations. He also posted a Reddit survey, which can be found by an open source internet search. The survey asked for participants to provide information to, quote, understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime. This guy, I do not even have words. And it was wild. Somebody found this like an hour after he was initially arrested. It was all over.
Did you read the other Reddit thread with him in it as Papa?
We're not for sure it was him, but yes, it looked it's very sketch. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Creeps me out.
So guys, on this, there's this like huge group of people who joined this Solve the Idaho Murders social media group. And this guy on there, what was his name? Papa something?
Yeah, I can't remember the...
Anyway, his like avatar looked just like Bryan Kohberger, but he is on there like all over the place talking about, well, why would they use the sheath? What kind of weapon do you think that they would use? Like, if it was him, it's fucking disgusting.
What is so crazy to me is that he gets into that argument with the other guy on Reddit about the sheath, and he obsesses over the sheath. And so there were some theories that maybe this other guy was, you know, FBI or somebody, and if he's not, maybe he needs a job with the FBI, because he recognized things in, if this was Bryan's account, statements and questions that were psychotic.
Yes. Yes.
Could you imagine having that conversation with him?
No.
like
no.
You get, once now that he's arrested, if they figure out for sure that that was his account, like, scary.
Oh, they'll for sure figure it out.
Yeah.
This guy, for all of his education in like criminal behavior, all of this education he's had in like cloud forensics, and he doesn't turn his fucking well, we'll get into it, but he is not good at being a criminal, this guy. All right, so guys, this information that we're going to read to you, cop who put this together, his name is Brett Payne, and he is employed by the Moscow Police Department. He's a corporal, and he has been there for about 4 years. And I think he must be the lead investigator on this case. Yeah. And it also says he's being assisted by members of the Idaho State Police and the FBI. So we're going to get into this, and we'll stop sort of throughout and talk about it. And if you haven't read this, sit down. And trigger warning, because it goes into the crimes. And there's stuff that we had no idea about.
Yeah.
And I've read this 10 times and I'm still like...
It's awful.
Yes. So...
All right, so on November 13th, 2022, at approximately 4 p.m., Moscow Police Department, Sergeant Blaker and I responded to 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho, hereafter the King Road residence, to assist with scene security and processing of a crime scene associated with 4 homicides. Upon our arrival, the Idaho State Police forensics team was on scene and was preparing to begin processing the scene. MPD Officer Smith, one of the initial responding officers to the incident, advised he would walk me through the scene. Officer Smith and I entered the King Road residence through the bottom floor door on the north side of the building. Officer Smith and I then walked upstairs to the second floor. Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor, which I later learned through Xana's driver's license and other personal belongings found in the room was Xana Kernodle's, hereafter Kernodle, room. Just before this room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body, later identified as Kernodle's, laying on the floor. Kernodle was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon. Also in the room was a male, later identified as Ethan Chapin, hereafter Chapin. Chapin was also deceased with wounds later determined, by the autopsy, to be caused by sharp force injuries. I then followed Officer Smith upstairs to the third floor of the residence. The third floor consisted of 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The bedroom on the west side of the floor was later determined to be Kaylee Goncalves, hereafter Goncalves, room. I later learned, from review of a body camera, there was a dog in the room when Moscow police officers initially responded. The dog belonged to Goncalves and her ex-boyfriend, Jack Ducour. I found out from my interview with Jack Ducour on November 13, 2022, that he and Goncalves shared the dog. Smith then pointed out a small bathroom on the east side of the third floor. The bathroom shared a wall with Madison Mogan's, hereafter Mogan, bedroom, which was situated on the southeast corner of the third floor. As I entered the room, I could see 2 females in the single bed in the room. Both Goncalves and Mogan were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side. The sheath was later processed and had a Kabar USMC and the United States Marine Corps Eagle Globe and anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. The Idaho State Lab located a single source of male DNA left on the button snap of the knife sheath. As part of the investigation, numerous interviews were conducted by MPD officers, Idaho State police officers, and FBI agents. 2 of the interviews included BF and DM. Both BF and DM were inside the King Road residence at the time of the homicides and were roommates to the victims. BF's bedroom was located on the east side of the first floor of the King Road residence. Based on numerous interviews conducted by MPD officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents, as well as my review of evidence, I have learned the following. On the evening of November 12, 2022, Chapin and Kernodle were seen by BF at the Sigma Chi House on the University of Idaho campus at 735 Nez Perce Drive from approximately 9 p.m. on November 12th to 1:45 a.m. on November 13th. BF also estimated that at approximately 1:45 a.m., Chapin and Kernodle returned to the King Road residence. BF also stated that Chapin did not live in the King Road residence, but was a guest of Kernodle. Goncalves and Mogan were at a local bar, the Corner Club at 202 North Main in Moscow. Goncalves and Mogan can be seen on video footage provided by the Corner Club between 10 p.m. on November 12th and 1:30 a.m. on November 13th. At approximately 1:30 a.m., Goncalves and Mogan can be seen on video at a local food vendor called the Grub Truck at 318 South Main Street in downtown Moscow. The Grub Truck live streams video from their food truck on the streaming platform Twitch, which is available for public viewing on their website. This video was captured by law enforcement. A private party, name has been redacted, reported that he provided a ride to Goncalves and Mogan at approximately 1:56 a.m. from downtown Moscow in front of the Grub Truck to the King Road residence. DM and BF both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were at home by 2 a.m. and asleep or at least in their rooms by approximately 4 a.m. This is with the exception of Kernodle, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. DM stated she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m., but by what she stated sounded like Goncalves playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, DM said she heard who she thought was Goncalves say something to the effect of, There's someone here. A review of records obtained from a forensic download of Kernodle's phone showed this could have also been Kernodle, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using the TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. DM stated she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. DM stated she opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernodle's room. DM then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." At approximately 4:17 a.m., a security camera located at 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of 1122 King Road, picked up distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17 a.m. The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Kernodle's bedroom. DM stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. DM described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male walked past DM as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the back sliding glass door. DM locked herself in her room after seeing the male. DM did not state that she recognized the male. This leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. That was hard to read.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I've already read it. The combination of DM's statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic downloads of records from BF and DM's phone, and a video of a suspect video, as described below, leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. During the processing of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print. This was located during the second processing of the crime scene by the ISP forensic team by first using a presumptive blood test and then amino black, which is a protein stain that detects the presence of cellular material. The detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern similar to the pattern of a Vans-type shoe, just outside of the door of DM's bedroom, located on the second floor. This is consistent with DM's statement regarding the suspect's path of travel.
Let's talk about that.
All right, let's talk about it.
First of all, I'm a little confused because I thought it said originally that DM's bedroom was on the first floor. And in this it says second floor.
Yeah, that's also
strange.
what I remember.
Yeah.
But that's what happens with...
Yeah. So, my response, I'm trying to think of a good way to say this, that it doesn't make me sound like a total asshole. I understand that no one knows how they're going to react in situations like this. I have no idea how I would react if I saw a masked person coming down the hall towards me in the middle of the night in my home. I find it unfathomable that this happened and that the police were not called for another 8 hours.
Can I put in some words? Okay.
Yes, argue with me about it.
I'm going to argue with you about it. Because I think a lot of people have that same question. Why did it take so long to call the police? But here's what I want you to do. I want you to picture me and you back in our sorority at the University of Idaho. Or I even thought about when I lived in the senior apartments.
Yeah.
With a few of our sorority sisters. And they have a party house. They're used to people coming and going. It's winter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She didn't hear anybody screaming. She didn't hear anybody struggling. And I think that they're used to hearing noise because of the way that they live.
Yeah,
and I also think
until this point.
All right, I'm going to keep going. And then I think they were heavily intoxicated, probably. That's an assumption, but they were both at parties, which is or a bar, and that's what you're doing there.
Yeah.
So then, I mean, she sees somebody. Now I'm thinking, in the apartment that I lived in with the three other seniors, 2 of us were in serious relationships, 2 of us were not. So for me to see somebody walking in and out of our apartment would not be unusual at
With a
all.
ski mask on?
Well, you got to remember
your whole face except for your eyeballs?
Well, it might have. I mean, but you got to remember she's probably intoxicated. It's dark and it's winter. But there's nothing really there to give her aside from, okay, if the mask was troublesome to her, she didn't really hear anything else that scared her. So she probably goes back in her bedroom and passes out and doesn't wake up until noon or 11 or whenever they called, is what I'm thinking.
I'm with you 99% of the way. The fact that she froze in abject terror upon seeing this guy walking towards her in the hall, after hearing what she thought was crying and hearing what she thought was somebody say, "Someone is here." That is, I don't understand it. I'm sure it is a absolute nightmare that she's going to have to live with for the rest of her life. I'm not trying to be judgmental. I just truly do not understand. I don't get it.
I think that's how everybody's feeling. And I think that most people are feeling like, what the fuck? But I think we'll hear probably, soon what went on there. And I guess there's one time where I thought I was going to die. Mm-hmm. And only one time.
On the airplane?
Yeah. And before that happened, though, I thought that I would run. I thought I would be a runner. At least, Yeah. No, yeah. I'm a freezer.
Yeah.
And then, so on the flip side of that, I'm saying if she was that scared, I can picture her just freezing in her room and fucking trying to be as quiet as a church mouse.
Yeah.
And just being terrified. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, we will. And I mean, I think it's also confounding because when they called it in as like an unconscious person.
Well, and there were other people there. Like, it wasn't just them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yes, I'm sure it will all come out that I think the frustration lies for me in just the fact that someone's life maybe could have been saved.
I don't think so.
Police would have been called. Yeah. I don't know. I won't get into it, but I have a feeling that this was not the plan he had going in. I do not think that it was a plan to kill 4 people. I think it was a plan to kill 1 person, and it went real sideways because he was not at all prepared for this. But, so we're going to get into some of the more forensic stuff of the investigation, and we're going to talk about the video canvas that they did because they got a video fucking footprint of this guy's movements. And he was not smart. He's not a smart person, this guy. So we all know that they were on the lookout for a white Hyundai Elantra. And initially, they were able to obtain footage from the area around the Kings Road residence and the surrounding neighborhoods, just trying to see what they could find. And the canvas resulted in the collection of numerous surveillance videos in the area, both residential and business. And you got to think that like the Nest cameras and the Ring cameras,
day and age, yeah,
that's got to be like the greatest thing in the world for police.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah. And just,
my husband is such a creep with our Ring camera.
I think of most people who have them are creeps with their cameras. But that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah, no, I mean it's great, and it really did them an incredible service here. So they reviewed numerous videos that were collected all around the area, and then spent hours and hours going through the footage. And a review of the footage indicated that a white sedan, hereafter suspect vehicle 1, so Bryan's Hyundai Elantra, was observed traveling westbound in the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive in Moscow at approximately 3:26 a.m. and westbound on Steiner Avenue at Idaho State Highway 95 in Moscow at approximately 3:28 a.m. In this video, it appeared suspect Bryan's car was not displaying a front license plate. Now, this is important because his car at this time was registered in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania does not require you to have a front license plate displayed. And he changes this after the murders. And then multiple videos obtained from the Kings Road neighborhood showed sightings of this car starting at 3:29 a.m. and ending at 4:20 a.m. These sightings show the vehicle makes an initial 3 separate passes past the house and then leave via Walenta Drive. Based off of his experience as a parole officer, he said that this is a residential neighborhood and a very limited number of vehicles travel in that area during 4 a.m. time. And then there were only a few cars that enter and exit the area during this time frame at all. And we're going to post maps too that show the routes that the police tracked him on, so you guys can see what we're talking about. So the car can be seen entering the area for a 4th time at approximately 4:04 a.m. It can be seen driving eastbound on King Road, stopping and turning around in front of Queen Road, and then driving back westbound on King Road. And then he stops in front of the residence. It appears he unsuccessfully tried to park or do a U-turn in the road and wasn't able to. And then he continued back to the intersection of King and Queen, where he had to complete a 3-point turn and then drive eastbound again down Queen Road to get back to the house. So on top of being a shitty criminal, he's a shitty driver.
I was just gonna say that.
And think about this too. 4:04 a.m. is when he makes his 4th pass, right? So he can park. The food delivery driver clocked in at 4 a.m. delivering Xana's order. 4 fucking minutes before.
Which is something, that obviously Bryan couldn't have been prepared for. I can't imagine
No.
what would have happened if the timing had been different.
Yes. So at 4:20, the vehicle is seen departing the residence at a high rate of speed. It is next observed traveling southbound on Walenta Drive, and the police believe that it likely exited the neighborhood at Palouse River Drive and Conestoga Drive. Sorry, guys, I could not read that word. And Palouse River Drive is right at the southern edge of Moscow and proceeds into Whitman County, Washington, which is where Pullman is, which is where Bryan lived. So crazy, these videos just allowed them to track this car across state lines. It's wild. So the police provided the video footage of the car to forensic examiners with the FBI, and they were able to identify the car as a white Hyundai Elantra between the years of 2011 and 2013. And then they thought, well, maybe it could be 2011 through 2016. Either way, it's a white Hyundai Elantra. And so then they began to go through the records of people in possession of that kind of vehicle in the area. Cannot imagine the amount of work this took. These guys are insane. In a good way, not in a crazy way. Yes. So investigators were given access to video footage at WSU, and a review of that video indicated that at 2:44 a.m. on November 13, the Hyundai Elantra was observed on a surveillance camera traveling north on Southeast Nevada Street at Northeast Stadium Way. At approximately 2:53 a.m., the car was observed traveling southeast on Nevada Street in Pullman, Washington, toward the highway that connects Pullman to Moscow. The camera footage from Pullman was provided to the same FBI forensic examiner who identified the car. He identified that same car as being the same make and model as what he had identified in the Moscow video surveillance. At approximately 5:25 a.m., the white sedan was observed on 5 cameras in Pullman, Washington, and on WSU campus cameras. The first camera recorded it was at Johnson Road in Pullman. It was observed traveling northbound. That road leads directly back to West Palouse River Drive in Moscow, which intersects with Conestoga Drive. All leads back to each other. At approximately 5:27, it was observed traveling northbound on Stadium Way, which is in Pullman. This is crazy. We're going to post these maps because these maps are very helpful. Lots of words we're throwing at you. So, on November 25th, the Moscow Police Department asked area law enforcement agencies to be on the lookout for the white Hyundai Elantra. On November 29th, at approximately 12:28 a.m., WSU police officer Daniel Tingo queried white Elantras registered at WSU. As a result, he located a 2015 white Elantra with a Pennsylvania license plate. Gives the number. I'm not going to read it. It was registered to Bryan Kohberger, who resided at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment 201 in Pullman, Washington. His address was approximately 3/4 of a mile from the intersection of Stadium Way and Cougar Way, where the last camera location picked up his vehicle. The same day at approximately 12:58 a.m., Officer Curtis Whitman was looking for the white Hyundai Elantra's location and found it at an apartment complex that houses WSU students. He ran the car and it returned to Kohberger with a Washington tag. The policeman, reviewed Kohberger's Washington state driver's license information and photograph. The picture shows that he has bushy eyebrows. I find that to be neither here nor there, frankly.
But I'm obsessed with the fact that they keep bringing it up.
Yes. So they do note that Kohberger's physical description is consistent with the description given by DM on November 13th. So it shows they did some investigating. Shitty driver Bryan Kohberger was pulled over multiple times before all of the murders. He was pulled over on August 21st in a traffic stop in Moscow. He was pulled over on October 14th in Washington State. On November 18th, Kohberger registered the 2015 white Elantra with Washington and later received new license plates. Prior to this time, it had been registered in Pennsylvania. So, after the murders, he changes his license plates, state and number. Yes. Investigators believe that Kohberger was still driving this at the time of the probable cause affidavit. That's what we're talking about now. They believe that he was still driving it. He was captured December 13th by a license plate reader in Loma, Colorado. And then in Indiana, and in Pennsylvania. And so we know now that Bryan was traveling across the country to get back to Pennsylvania with his father. And he was pulled over twice at the request of the FBI, which is so badass. So they had the police pull him over so that they could get body cam footage of his hands, if there were any injuries to his hands.
I don't know why I think that's so rad.
It is rad.
But it is rad.
It is rad. And, did you see the video of him, like the body cam video of him getting pulled over? And his dad's like trying to be, I don't even know what. It's a very weird thing. And you know that Bryan had to have been fucking covered in blood after, and he gets back in this car. It had to have been everywhere. Anyway, yeah. So that's essentially the car stuff. But I think it really is like the nail in the coffin for the case, the car stuff and the phone stuff, because it's like, it's irrefutable stuff. And Camden's going to get into the phone stuff here in a minute. But I don't think that we can express enough how fucking awesome the Moscow Police Department,
the Idaho State Police, the FBI, all of them. It's so...
I mean, the fact that this tiny police department, who, let's be frank, most police departments have not seen anything like this. But the fact that they were able to keep their cool with all of the fucking noise from the media and the public, and you're not telling us anything, and fuck you guys. And they were able to just like keep their heads down and do their job. And not only that, but they didn't jump the gun because of the pressure. They made sure that this guy was not going to get away with it. They made sure that they had enough evidence to where this guy is not going to be able to wiggle out of it.
Which just shows so much tenacity and restraint.
Yes.
I mean, because here we are about 8 weeks out-ish. Not quite.
Yep.
And they've basically had him in their sights the 2 weeks after the incident happened. He was in their sights. So they've been holding on to this for about 5, 6 weeks.
It was 30 days that they had him from the time that they identified him as the owner of the car to when they arrested him. I think it was November 29th. I think they arrested him on December 30th. And they were able, because he would have fucking fled.
For sure.
Had they been free with their information, he would have fucking fled.
Yeah.
And because they kept their fucking mouth shut and like did not succumb to the pressure, they were able to get him.
And it's amazing to me. It would have been so enticing to say something because and you want him to be caught, and it's great information because everybody thinks you don't know anything, and but I mean that's the play of the game.
Well, it shows such a maturity to the way that they handled it.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm just so proud of them. And I don't want to sound condescending, but I am so proud of them.
Well, it's just badass.
It is badass.
It's just badass.
You guys are all badass. Yeah. So we're going to get into the phone stuff. And the phone stuff it's very technical.
It's convoluted. It's hard to follow.
Yeah. So you guys should go in and really, if you want to really get into the phone stuff, we're going to do like an overview of it. But it's a lot of dates. It's a lot of numbers. So
I'm going to try to...
Camden's going to do what she does.
I'm going to muddle through this.
And you guys can read it as you will. Yeah.
So basically in the affidavit, the officer talks about that, individuals can either leave their cell phones at a different location before committing a crime or turn them off prior to going to a location to commit a crime. And this is done in an effort to avoid alerting law enforcement that a cell phone associated with them was in a particular area where a crime was committed. We all kind of know that from CSI or whatever, right?
Yes.
He says he also knows that on numerous occasions, subjects will surveil an area where they intend to commit a crime prior to the date of the crime. And depending on the circumstances, this could be done a few days before or several months prior to the commission of a crime. And during these types of surveillance that they are doing, it is possible that the individual would not leave their cell phone at a separate location or turn it off since they didn't plan to commit the crime at that time. So when they go back, they can see that he's gone past their house multiple times.
Yes.
On December 23rd, he applied for and was granted a search warrant for the historical phone records between November 12th at 12 a.m. and November 14th at 12 a.m. for Kohberger's phone, held by the provider, AT&T. So it was approximately 24 hours preceding and following the times of the homicides. Okay, on December 23rd, the officer received records from Bryan's phone that indicated the phone is subscribed to Bryan Kohberger at an address in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, and the account has been open since June of 2022. The records also included historical cell site location information, which they turn into an acronym of CSLI, so CSLI, cell site location information for Bryan's phone. After receiving that information, they consulted with the FBI, that is a certified member of the Cellular Analysis Survey Team, or CAST. Members of CAST are certified with the FBI to provide expert testimony in the field of historical CSLI, and are required to pass extensive training in order to do this and get yearly certifications. So on November 13th, at approximately 2:42 a.m., Bryan's phone was utilizing cellular resources that provide coverage to 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment G201, Pullman, Washington, which was Bryan's residence. At approximately 2:47 a.m., his phone utilized cellular records that provided coverage southeast of the Kohberger residence, consistent with his phone leaving his residence and traveling south through Pullman, Washington. This is also consistent with the movement of the white Elantra. At approximately 2:47 a.m., Bryan's phone stops reporting to the network, which is consistent with either the phone being in an area without cell coverage or the connection to the network is disabled, such as putting the phone on airplane mode or turning the phone off. Kohberger's phone does not report to the network again until approximately 4:48 a.m., at which time it utilized cellular resources that provide coverage to Idaho State Highway 95 south of Moscow, Idaho, near Blaine, Idaho, so it would be north of Genesee. Between 4:50 a.m. and 5:26 a.m., the phone utilizes cell resources that are consistent with Bryan's phone traveling south on Idaho State Highway 95 to Genesee, then travels west towards Uniontown, Idaho, and then north back to Pullman. At approximately 5:30 a.m., his phone is utilizing resources that provide coverage to Pullman, Washington, and consistent with the phone traveling back to Kohberger's residence. Bryan's phone movements are consistent with the movements of the white Elantra that is observed traveling north on Stadium Drive at approximately 5:27 a.m. Based on a review of Bryan's phone, his phone's estimated locations and travel, the phone's travel is consistent with the traveling of the white Elantra. So On February 13th, the review also indicated that the phone was consistent with leaving the area of Bryan's residence at approximately 9 a.m. and traveling back to Moscow, Idaho. Specifically, Bryan's phone utilized cell resources that would provide coverage to the King Road residence between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21 a.m. The phone then utilized resources consistent with him traveling back to his residence at approximately 9:32 a.m., meaning he went back to the house, drove by it twice before the police were called to respond. I cannot. So then there is a map that shows the cell. So we'll have that posted so you guys can see that. I don't understand. I mean, why did he go up to Genesee? Wait. I can't hear you. You're on mute.
That's why you couldn't hear me shouting at you.
You were shouting at me?
No, I was shouting at him. I was like, idiot.
Like, you are on mute.
She's really good at ignoring me at this point. No, my son was out in the hallway, like being very loud with the animals. And so I muted. And then I was yelling at Kohberger as you were talking about him traveling back. I think he was so frazzled after what happened. I think he drove the wrong way and then had to loop around
because or took the long way.
Mm-hmm, yes,
trying to conceal.
I think that's what happened.
Yeah,
I think he just was. I think it did not at all go the way it was supposed to, and yeah. Yes. And, guys, it also, I think, it goes on, I think, for another 4 or 5 pages.
Yeah.
This phone stuff. But it also showed that the phone stuff also showed that he had been driving past this house at least 12 times since August of 2022.
And always in late evening or very early hours of
He was stalking someone that lived at this house. Let's be clear. He, from August until November, drove past this house at least 12 times, not including the night of the murders. So he was after someone in that house. It was very, very fucking premeditated. And I'm going to read this little part about the DNA, and then I think we should talk about theories because I'm bursting. So, on December 27th, they've gotten the phone records back from the phone company. They've matched it up with the video surveillance stuff. And Bryan has been tracked from Washington to Pennsylvania on this road trip with his father. So he is at his parents' house in Pennsylvania at this time. And they know they have DNA from the snap on the knife sheath. They know they have male DNA. So what they do,
I know, I love this.
They go through the trash at the Kohberger family residence. And then they send all of this trash in to the Idaho State Lab for DNA testing. And the state lab, this is fucking wild that this turned over so quick.
Yes.
The next day, December 28th, they reported that a DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the sheath identified a male as not being excluded as the biological father of Bryan. At least 99.9998% of the male population would be excluded. So, it matched Bryan's dad as being the father of the DNA profile of the sheath.
And here's what I'm just going to say. I know that we hear about all these law enforcement agencies claiming the CSI effect with the public, that the public just expects things to be done within the snap of a fingers, like CSI, you know? But then they turn around and do badass shit like this and get it back so fast. What do they think we're going to do, sirs? I'm going to expect it all the time. It's awesome.
Yes. Well, you know, it's... All right, can I tell you what I think happened?
Yeah, and then I'll tell you what I think.
Okay, good. So, this is pure speculation on my part.
Really?
And 42 years of being obsessed with all things criminal. But here's what I think happened. I think that Bryan Kohberger somehow in August of 2022 made contact with either Kaylee or Maddie. And I think he started stalking one or the other. Now, Kaylee worked at a restaurant, so it very could have easily been her. And maybe he hits on her. Maybe she's like, fuck off, you creepy old man with the bushy eyebrows. And so, And so that's so funny. You're the third person who said that to me, that he looks like Ted Bundy. And I think he started stalking. And I think he came up with this plan that he was going to kill someone. And I think what happened that night is that he went in going to kill. Now, the only reason I think Maddie more than Kaylee is because I think he went into Maddie's room and both the girls were in her room.
Wait, pause. How do you think that he knew which one was her room?
I think he had been in the house before. That house was never locked. It was a party house. I think he easily could have gone through the home. So I think, or he went into Kaylee's room and she wasn't there. So he went into Maddie's room. But because they were together, he had to kill both of them. And I think because Xana was awake, she heard, because it was just across the hall. She heard, and he had to kill her, and Ethan was there, and so he had to kill him. So I think because that happened, he was so frazzled, he left the sheath. I mean, this is a guy who clearly planned this. This was clearly something that he had spent months going through. And he does something as stupid as leaves the fucking sheath with his DNA on it next to the bed where he's killed these two girls. I think he was so frazzled. I think it did not at all go the way he was supposed to. It was not in control anymore. And I think that he realized he had been in the house too long, that too many people were there, that too many people were awake. And I think that's why he just walked right fucking past the roommate that he left alive.
Yep.
And out the door.
That's what I was thinking for sure. I feel like that he probably had a time limit that he wanted to be in and out. I mean, that's pretty common, and that is the only reason why I can see that he just walked past her.
And he was there for 16 minutes. He was inside that house.
So, I tend to agree with you pretty much on your whole theory. I mean, I think... But what is so interesting to me is all of this background that he has, all of this schooling he has on this. He studied under, that woman who had constant contact with other serial killers.
Yeah.
And and he is not an expert, but he is extremely knowledgeable in the technology that is used to catch criminals this day and age. Do you think that he wanted to be caught?
It has absolutely crossed my mind that he wanted to see exactly what
it was like. I think he wanted to see what it was like. I think he wanted to see what it was like afterward. Yeah. I think he wanted to see how the investigation played out. But there's just so many things that you're like, for him not to have understood how that would all work, it's just very...
For him to turn his cell phone on when he's not back at home yet. For him to turn his cell phone on in the middle of the night. For him to even bring his phone with him. For him to, knowing how many cameras capture everything, to drive past that house that many times in that car. Either he's a total fucking idiot, or he wanted to see what would happen.
And the other thing about the sheath is, and the conversation that he was having online with that other guy on the Reddit thread about the sheath, the other guy kept saying, why are you so obsessed with this sheath? Why would anybody bring a sheath? It just seems to be in the way. Why would you have something else that you have to deal with? Why wouldn't you just have the knife? Why do you have this sheath? Did he mean to leave it there? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just very, I mean, it could be anything. There are still a million questions, but
I know.
I don't know. I hope that he talks, although I'm not sure anything that he says we can ever believe, because he's a sociopath, but I hope...
I hope
he
at
talks.
least he says something about why he killed all four of them. Like...
And what our need to know, it doesn't
went
change
left.
anything.
He
Right.
also is very obsessed with the whole idea of making it look, when he was on that, if it was him on that Reddit thread,
Right.
making it look like it was a sexually motivated crime.
Yeah.
He kept saying that, and there is no evidence at all that there was any kind of sexual motivation to it. And I feel like that was let's stir the pot and see what people say.
Yeah, I think he was just trying to... Yeah, I don't know. It's all... And what our obsession is with always having to know the why, you know? It's like ingrained in our human nature. It's just like ingrained in us to want to know that. It doesn't change a single thing.
Oh, no, I can tell you why. I know scientifically why it is in our brain.
Why?
Because our brains are not... Our brains want a circular conclusion to things. They want to know why, because we don't like loose ends. Our brains don't like loose ends. And so if we don't know how to close the circle, then our brains will constantly be thinking of why, to try to close the circle ourselves.
Sort of like believing in a God. People who don't believe in... Well, people who can't get their head around it because...
Yeah.
There's no definitive answer.
Yes.
I mean, to those who don't believe, that to people who believe, they think there is, but I digress.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, it is a physiological reaction that our brain has. If we don't know the answer to something, our brain wants to close the circle. It wants to have a completion of something.
Whitney, it's called closure.
You're the smartiest pants I ever knew.
Brings us closure. God, sometimes I amaze myself.
I know. You never run out of the pure gold.
You making fun of me?
No, I'm not.
This is
Absolutely
water,
true.
by the way. I was like, Camden, why did you pick one of your wine glasses to drink water out of? Well, it was close, and here I am.
You know what I miss about drinking? I miss the fun glasses.
That's why sometimes you just drink LaCroix out of fun...
I don't even have any fun glasses anymore in my house. I never liked a martini. I always hated a martini, but I loved a martini glass.
Well, because, Whitney, they're fancy.
They are fancy.
Not you loving fancy stuff. What?
Yes. Maybe I should just buy some fun glasses.
I think you should.
Just so. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes. So, guys, that is the probable cause Probable cause. Affidavit.
Now you can see how we are on a regular recording where we can edit shit out.
Yes.
It was,
Yes. So, go
it
ahead.
was heavy. Well, it was just heavy. It's depressing. It's heavy. Don't know what it is about. I don't know if it's that we went to school there. I don't know.
I know.
It's just, I don't know what it is that makes me feel so close to this whole thing. And I have such
gotta
strong
be
feelings.
that we were those girls. We lived up there. We partied up there. We were 20-year-old girls there, and we went to the corner club. And these are. But
Could have been
I do
any of us.
have. Yes, I have a very visceral reaction to this. I was sick to my stomach all day today after this came out. I am sure a lot more is going to come out, and nothing is going to make it better for these families. But knowing, after reading this, I have zero doubt in my mind that he did it. And so that makes
same.
me feel better. Sometimes you're like, well, I don't know. It's kind of shaky. And, judges can deny these. Cops can give these to judges, and judges can be like, you don't have shit. You don't have enough for a warrant to arrest this guy, and reject it back. And these guys made sure they had every T crossed, every I dotted. And this is a slam dunk. As far as I'm concerned, as far as my legal brain
Well, you're
is
basically
concerned,
a professional. So
I am a professional.
I know.
Professional judger of things.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you a shirt that says that.
Yeah, guys. So we'll, keep you guys up to date as things come out. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to this special legal Zoom.
Professional legal Zoom meeting.
Legal Zoom with Camden and Whitney. And we will see you next week.
Next week. Ta-ta.
Thanks, guys.